Hey, what's up and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and Twitter and answer them here on this show. It's a post-game Q&A, a lot of questions about that Browns-Ravens game, so let's just jump into it. And we're going to start with a question from Luis who says, do you think there is a problem between Baker and Stefanski? I honestly can't figure out the regression on the passing game. I guess Baker's injuries are worse than what the team and Baker himself has told us. I really don't think the injuries are worse. I understand people want to give the benefit of the doubt to the quarterback because the alternative of giving the benefit of the doubt to the quarterback is finding a new quarterback, or at least that's like one of the scenarios you can find yourself in. I really don't think, though, that it's been the injuries throughout this year from what I've seen. Like, I don't think that explains all of the weirdness. It might explain some of the weirdness, but not all of the weirdness with the offense, right? I do think that part of this is there is a rift between the coach and the quarterback, or it might be a rift between a quarterback and a part of this team. I don't know. There's something internal going on. Baker even alluded to it in an interview with Kurt Warner, that there's something kind of internal going on. He didn't deluge more into that, but there's something internal he referred to that's going on. And, you know, that would be as good as a guess as any. You know, I don't know what happened to this passing game, but what I do know is that they're not executing at a high enough level. The wide receivers aren't getting open. When the wide receivers are open, the quarterback's not finding them enough. And when they are open, when the quarterback does find them, we don't know who's going to catch the ball, right? Like or if the ball's going to be on target, or if Baker's just going to airmail it. Like, too many variables in this passing game, and it is something that has really dragged this team back, right? Like the lack of a passing game, and the offensive line not dominating at the same level that they did last year has really held this team back. But that's all I can really say about what's going on with this offense. There's something going on. But I don't know specifically what is the cause of it or who to blame, because I think it's too big of a problem to blame on one person. Next question comes from Cam, who says, can the Browns realistically win the division? Absolutely. The Browns can realistically win the division. Now, you go on here to say with the way they're playing and everything, but let's keep in mind that, like, the rest of the division isn't playing great. Like, we don't know what the health status is long-term for Lamar. Even if he does play, he seems to be hurt. Like, he was hurt before he got hurt, and then he got hurt. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, honestly, they play just as bad as the Cleveland Browns do at times. The Cincinnati Bengals, they seem like they're a young team figuring out, and the end of their schedule is really rough. Like, super. They play the Ravens, us, and like the Chiefs. Like, they got a rough end of that schedule. So yeah, the division's wide open, man. Like, you could say the Browns aren't playing well, but it ain't like anybody else in the division or in the conference, other than like maybe Kansas City and New England, have been playing so well that, you know, it would rule the Browns out. Like, everybody's kind of playing at the same level of frustration here. The next question comes from Ralph Miller, who says, I know you said there will be a learning curve with Kevin Stefanski's play calling, but what is the biggest issue with Kevin Stefanski's play calling? It depends on who you ask. There are some people who don't think they throw the ball enough, and they aren't aggressive enough with throwing the ball. There's some people who think they run the ball more. Like, they don't throw the ball. They throw the ball too much, right? It really varies based on person to person, to be honest with you. I don't have the best answer in the world for what the biggest problem is with Kevin Stefanski's play calling. All I know is that sometimes on third down, they have some questionable play calls. I think he calls the game as if he is afraid of his quarterback at times, and that wasn't the case last year. Now, again, it's not like Baker's play this year has done anything to alleviate that. He is responsible for that. But also, on the other hand, I don't think you can win a lot of football games play calling like you're afraid of your quarterback. But you know, that's a catch-22 at the end of the day. But yeah, Kevin Stefanski, I think his biggest problem is sometimes he tries to get too smart for his own good. He tries to do some trick plays in some wrong situations. I think he'll be all right long term, though. I don't see any catastrophic issues. Like, I don't think the problem with the offense all of a sudden, right, is Kevin Stefanski's play calling when his offense was rolling last year when he was the play caller. Like, it just doesn't track. It doesn't make much sense to blame him as the problem for this offense when last year he was part of why the offense turned around so much, right? Don't really get how we can just fully blame play calling. The next question comes from Olivier, who says, what is the differences you see in the system in which Baker played at OU to what he's playing with now? I know Stefanski's focus is mainly to target tight ends, but I feel like there are ways maybe to compromise. What do you think? They need to compromise. Now, I don't think it's really the passing concepts or anything like that needs to change. I think it's just a mentality, right? Baker needs to attack downfield. Now, again, I understand why there would be hesitancy there because, again, Baker's not world renowned for his ability to avoid interceptions, but he needs to attack downfield, right? If you're going to have Baker Mayfield on your roster, whether you like Baker or not, whether you think Baker is good or not, the truth is with Baker is that his style of quarterback is being a gunslinger, right? Like, he is a gunslinger. He is somebody who wants to air it out, wants to rip it downfield, wants to take some chances, wants to make some things happen on the run. You have to give guys like that some free reign. Partly just so you could figure out if they're really good at it or not, and also partly because players are going to play well when you put them in a position to do what they do best, right? If you had Lamar Jackson being a pocket quarterback, it wouldn't work, right? If you took away all the improvisation from Patrick Mahomes, he wouldn't be Patrick Mahomes, right? So you got to let Baker do what he's supposed to be good at. And with that, that means you take some risk. And I'm not saying that if you let Baker do this, all of a sudden he's going to be unlocked and become this MVP level quarterback or anything. I'm not making that leap that some people are willing to make with this. But what I am saying is that he's the quarterback that you have on the roster. He is undoubtedly the best quarterback you have on the roster. And since that is the case, you have to placate his style a little more, right? We don't want the same thing to happen with Baker this year that happened with Odell, where they did nothing. They did nothing to placate to Odell. They threw no bones. They did not adjust the offense. They did not make any compromises. They let that thing boil under the surface and then it exploded. You don't want to let that happen again. Not with any player, right? Not just specifically with Baker Mayfield, but with any player. You don't want that to happen again. So you have to be mindful of that as a coach. And what he needs to do right now is understand that people on this offense are frustrated with the lack of aggressiveness, with the pass game, especially when they're up, and they have to throw this team, the offensive people on this team, a bone to give them that chance, to allow them to take those chances so they can try and make some plays to put this game away, right? When we look at the defense, the biggest difference with the defense is when the defense needs a play, Joe Woods, whether you like it or not, he's putting people in position to make plays. Now, that could backfire, right? Somebody could not make a play. They zero blitz on that last play against Tyler Huntley. And if Tyler Huntley threw that ball over top, they would have gave up a touchdown, lost that game. But no, what happened? Denzel Ward made a play. Jadeveon Clowney made a play, right? You just got to trust your playmakers at this point of the year. And I hope Kevin trusts that, he has to allow his playmakers to make plays, and they got to be aggressive with it, much more aggressive than they're being right now, right? The next question comes from Chris, who says, what's been the biggest adjustment you've seen from the defense compared to the first half of this year? I think a lot of the young players have just gotten markedly more comfortable in this defense. I think that's honestly the only difference. I don't see a huge adjustment. I don't see this change that they made. It's just the young players, JOK, and the new players like Jadeveon and John Johnson finally just getting settled into this defense and playing well. I think, we gave this defense a lot of flack early in the year when we knew they were going to be a work in progress. And now, this work in progress is starting to look more complete. And this was always the goal. I don't think they made a huge change in that. The next question comes from M, who says, in your opinion, what changed with how Stefanski is running the offense and limiting the game plan? Does he not trust Baker or the wide receivers? Again, man, I have no idea. I think a lot of this has to do with there is a lack of trust in the entire passing game, because player for player, like we ain't even just talking quarterback, every player on this passing game has been their least reliable self. Jarvis Landry, not as reliable as he has in past years. David Njoku's been more reliable, but other than that, everybody else that receives the ball has been less reliable. The offensive line has been less reliable, and Baker Mayfield's been less reliable. I think since that's happened, that's really taken away a lot of the confidence that you would have with the play calling on the passing game, and that leads to limiting it so you don't make a ton of mistakes. And again, the Browns are kind of calling this offense as if they have a bad offense, right? Like that's kind of how they're calling it. They feel like they have a good defense, and they know they have a bad offense, so they're just calling the offense like they have a bad one. And what do you do when you have a bad offense but a good defense? You play keep away, you try to burn as much clock as possible, and you play kind of like how the Browns are playing right now. So I think that's more or less what's happened, is that this offense has failed to execute so consistently that you just got to adjust how you're going to call this offense, and you can't call this offense like you have any expectation for them to be good. And that's what Kevin Stefanski's gone to. That's my best guess. I don't know if that's true or not. The next question comes from Joey, who says, in your opinion, what is Jarvis's future after this year? Jarvis probably won't be here after this year. I hate to break it to everybody, but I don't think Jarvis is going to be here. I think that's going to be a mutual parting of ways. I think Jarvis, he's kind of had it with this. And I think the Browns, I think they are going to adjust what they look for in wide receivers after this year. The next question comes from Pee Wee, who says, do you think the Browns can win out? If they had to lose one more game, it would have been, or would be, the Packers game. Yeah, I mean, that's the one game you can lose because it's an NFC loss, and even then it gets kind of dicey. But, if certain tiebreakers go your way, and it looks like, more tiebreakers than I thought are going the Browns' way because they have a decent division record still, then, hey, you can lose that game against the Packers. It won't really cost you that much. And, going 3-1 will probably get you in. Do I think the Browns can win out? I think the defense is good enough to win out. I don't know if the offense is going to meet them there. We'll see. If there is 4 weeks for this team to play good football, it's now. So hopefully they do it. The next question comes from Mike, who says, is it safe to say that both of our kickers are in jeopardy of losing their jobs? I literally look away every time one of their numbers are called. Yeah, I mean, like Colquitt might take Gillian's job. I'm not really invested in the punter thing. The kicker, yeah, you know how I feel about kickers, man. Right? Once you start missing half of your field goal attempts for whatever reason, I'm okay with replacing you. That's just how I feel. Now, again, there are people who love the kicker. Like, we do this every year with kickers. We really do this with every year. And every year, here's what happens. People fall in love with the kicker early in the year. They tell me this kicker's going to be great. That kicker starts missing kicks. Everybody starts to hate that kicker. But then everybody's mad at me about how I feel about kickers. They're replaceable at the end of the day. If they start missing field goals, they got to go, right? You do that until you get a Justin Tucker. And if you don't get a Justin Tucker, you just continue to do that. You just dump him and dump him and dump him and dump him and dump him. That's how the Ravens got Justin Tucker, by the way. They dumped Billy Cundiff and then just randomly picked up Justin Tucker. They didn't draft Justin Tucker. They picked him up off free agency, like undrafted free agent. And then he became Justin Tucker, right? Like, you get kickers or you recycle kickers until you get one that doesn't miss for an extraordinary long amount of time. And I don't think McLaughlin falls under that territory. So if he misses another field goal, most definitely he will probably be gone. But that's it for this week's Q&A. Again, guys, thank you guys for asking these questions. Again, guys, have a great day and have a good night.